Now that Persona 4 Remake is weathering through the fog of rumors, Atlus has the golden opportunity to do something that most fans have longed for, making Yosuke a romance option again. But if that's not going to happen, then P Studio can still do the next best thing that we have been screaming for louder than Nanako singing,
"Every day's great at your Junas."
Persona 4 Remake needs to have handcrafted dungeons. Looking back at the Shadow World, otherwise known as the TV world and also goes by the Midnight Channel, it contains dungeons that materialize the dreams and desires of those trapped inside. The Midnight Channel isn't just an ordinary dungeon system, as it effectively played the narrative role of a psychological horror funhouse that reflects the rawest form of the human psyche. It managed to blend the story, symbolisms, character development, and gameplay into one addicting experience. And back in 2008, Persona 4's dungeon system was genuinely impressive, but that doesn't mean it was without issues. Players often got burnout from the procedurally generating floors. Saving your progress is kind of a hassle, and getting game over just because you got knocked out was enough to make some people quit altogether. Now, I understand that some fans want a 1:1 remake of the original P4, but let's be honest here, its dungeon design is outdated. Unlike Persona 3 Reload, which kept the random layout of Tartarus because it's central to that game, the Midnight Channel in Persona 4 is a much different concept, and it would vastly benefit from a structured design like the palaces in Persona 5. So here's why Persona 4 Remake needs better dungeons. But before that though, if you're excited to dungeon crawl the TV world again, then like this video and join Otaku Define for more Persona content.
Watch me!
One of the main problems of the dungeons in Persona 4 is that it isn't symbolic enough. The Midnight Channel has been presented in the story as the mirror that reflects the hidden thoughts and desires of a person, while also being influenced by the collective unconscious of the people watching it. Such as Yukiko's castle was supposed to symbolize her struggles of being trapped by tradition. However, her entire dungeon only featured castle walls, elegant windows, red carpet, and other things that you would see in a Disney princess movie. While it did manage to tell us that Yukiko is desiring more than just their family in, there weren't any other symbolism that will lead the player to think that Yukiko is feeling imprisoned. The closest symbolism here is the fact that we feel trapped replaying the same floor for the third time. Wait a minute, that's the same door 2 floors ago. And that is the main culprit for the weak thematic dungeons in Persona 4. The procedural generation provides an illusion of variety. Just because it's random, that doesn't mean it's new and exciting. While this technology gave us Tartarus and Mementos, it didn't really jive well with Persona 4's Midnight Channel. Since seeing the dungeons in Persona 4 for the first time, it made me think that I'm going on an adventure. Like you're diving into a mysterious world filled with traps, puzzles, and tension, all the while racing against time to rescue the kidnapped victim. But by the 4th floor in Risa's dungeon, you'll notice that you're just doing the same thing over and over again. The only puzzle I remember in the club is Shadow Risa locking the door, so we have to go behind it, then she catfish us to a mini boss fight. Void Quest, which is my favorite dungeon in Persona 4, also had this problem. In the beginning, it was super exciting, the retro video game theme complete with a classic JRPG menu, with the UI disappearing as we enter the dungeon and we can hear the 8-bit music playing. Doors opened like something out of an old Final Fantasy game. There were even unique puzzles that made it feel fresh. This gave it a distinct identity compared to others. But as we go through the floors, the same problem occurs again. The pixel aesthetic starts off charming but quickly feels generic as you're forced to crawl through the same randomly generated floors again and again. But hey, at least this time it's green. Persona 5's palaces didn't have that same repetitive feel because they were carefully handcrafted to reflect the distorted desires of each palace ruler. Take Kamoshida for example. His palace wasn't just a perverted castle. It symbolized how he saw and mistreated his students. His dungeon properly showcased him as this tyrannical ruler that needs to be stopped. It is clear that Atlus and P Studio drew inspiration from the Midnight Channel's concept of symbolic dungeons, but refined it into a much stronger system in Persona 5. This is why it makes perfect sense for Persona 4 Remake to adopt this approach, rather than sticking to the old randomly generated dungeons. But is the symbolism the only thing lacking in Peeper's dungeons? Gameplay-wise, it also needs a lot of improvements, especially considering how buried they are. From Risa's club that stood as a metaphor for her celebrity identity, Kanji's bathhouse is a steamy reckoning against societal expectations, Mitsuo's gaming world. Okay, is Atlus trying to imply that gamers are lunatics? The core gameplay of Peeper's Dungeons lacks variety. All you do is search for the stairs and hope it leads to the boss room so you can finally try Esto out. If Persona 4 Replay are to revamp the labyrinths, they should go beyond just visuals and add meaningful challenges tied to each character's inner struggle. Yukiko's castle could feature rival suitors, protecting a symbolic item tied to their expectations, trapping Yukiko. Then we'll have to burn those items symbolizing her breaking free from it. Risa's dungeon can have stalkers or paparazzi that ambush you if you step into the spotlight zones, emphasizing her fear of constant scrutiny. Kanji's bathhouse could introduce trial rooms where you must prove your toughness, like defeating a shadow without using any skills. Atlus already proved that they can do this. P3 Reload's modded doors got revamped with optional bosses and unique challenges. Persona 4 Rewind needs to go further than this. Make each dungeon a playable character arc. These types of encounter would add depth, variety, and better reflect each character's internal conflict, instead of making saving your progress the challenge for these dungeons. And let's be honest, saving in Persona 4 is such a chore. Nothing screams fun like beating a mid-boss only to realize that the nearest save point is, oh right, you have to go all the way back to the entrance. But wait, you don't have any go home? Well, that's fine, you got Teddy. Except you forgot to swap him in, so enjoy your 15-minute hike back through the fog and shadows. And when you finally reach the entrance to save, the fox greets you with a smile and a 50,000 yen SP healing bill. It really ends up punishing players just for forgetting a few preparations. But that's not what the core gameplay should be about. Adding teleporters or safe rooms would go a long way as a quality of life improvement. Also, please let us swap party members while inside the dungeon. Speaking of party members, one of the little things that I really appreciated in P4 was occasionally running into teammates outside your active party. You'd have a quick interaction, maybe toss you an item. It was a small touch, but it helped the investigation team's chemistry shine. P4R could absolutely build on this. They can give us more character moments while dungeon crawling, like Chie practicing her kung fu, Yukiko fiddling with the god glasses, and Teddy just being Teddy. Let's also have them react more creatively when we find chests, encounter shadows, or even the eerie environment. Reload did this so well with Junpei ranting about the weird walls, and Persona 5's Mementos had all sorts of fun party banter. Adding these touches would make exploring the Midnight Channel way more engaging, immersive, and add to the replay value. However, an important question comes to mind. If Persona 4 Rewind is going to have handcrafted dungeons, how can we appease the fans who love the gameplay of randomized floors? Well, they really don't have to disappear, but instead have a boundary. Think of this system, where after rescuing the kidnapped character, their dungeon's remnant could become a procedural challenge zone. It's like a combination of Mementos and Tartarus, where players can grind and the floors are packed with loot. Then there will be certain floors where there is a challenging boss fight that gives rewards like weapon materials, skill cards, new equipment, or even useful items that can help with the social side of the game, like a floor boss dropping the book Beginner Fishing. We can even add a new system here called Channel Search, full of side quests. Of course, all of this sounds too ambitious, and this is Atlus we're talking about. For every genius improvement they made in P3R, there's a baffling omission. But how about you guys? How are you going to improve the dungeon in Persona 4? Or do you think it's already perfect? Speaking of which, here's everything that Persona 4 Remake needs to get right. If you're curious about that, then check this video out. Join Otaku Define for more Persona content. This is Math, and stay awesome, my dudes.